Good morning. I would like to call this special meeting to order. First thing on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you please stand. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First order of business is to approve the agenda as published here.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda as published. Any discussion on that? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion
Aye.
carries. Down to action items. And the first item we have a discussion regarding possible movement for Lake Conway School District to move out of yellow plan to red plan. And we'll listen to Superintendent Tom Albertson.
All right, well, thank you for coming in this morning. I'd like to start to just review some data. I do really appreciate this daily up-to-date 7-day average. And what I have on my cursor, and I know it's small, I'll read it to you. This was the 7-day rolling average at our last board meeting on November 9th, and we were at 28.4. And the threshold of going the county to color, which is just this is one of the 3 metrics to guide you in your decisions, is 30. Well, you can see from where my cursor is to what has happened at a peak of 46.5.
What date was that?
That was on
November 24th.
November 14th. And then last couple of days, it's kind of settled and dipped a little bit, but as of yesterday, it was still at 40.9.
That's per week, right?
What's that?
It's 7 days.
This is a 7-day rolling average. So every day, you take the last 7th day off.
Right.
And so, and I do want to share with you, I'm not the expert in this, but from the head of Panhandle Health and also our nursing staff, this peak, they say may have been directly related to Halloween. We don't know. I mean, so people were out and about. I'm like going, no, come on, I don't know about that. But then if you look at this data and you go back to October 31st, you can see what's happened since October 31st in our county. So that's just one metric there to say that I'm glad to see that we settled a little bit, but again, we still are above the 30 threshold. The next piece of data, again, that you have at your availability is the curve. There we go, lost it. This is the percent positivity. This is the state, Bonner County. Notice that it's still November 7th. This is done on a weekly basis, and it's still at that 12.6%. So I don't know that that gives you too much data. It was explained to me that this also includes tests for people who are going in for routine procedures.
Yeah.
So if you were really going to look at the percent positivity of people who are going in to get tested for symptoms of COVID, this would be higher, but they don't separate those out. So that is one piece of information just to keep in mind.
What about people that routinely get tested, healthcare workers?
Yeah, I'm assuming this would be all tests in that. So that's where they're saying is that this metric, it's accurate for the people being tested, but there's different reasons why people are being tested.
Yeah.
Moving on, then I want to show you where we are currently in Lake Conway School District, and since we last met, I believe we were at, I don't know if we were at 21, 22.
It was 21.
21. Since then, we have gone up to 32 total, with a max of 14 active. We're back down to 10 active. So again, enough for us to be, doing due diligence. In Kootenai County south of us.
Is there a way to do control plus on that?
Yeah, I can take that over.
What's the breakout?
Then I don't have to ask you to read everything.
Students.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
blue.
Tom.
What's the breakout of students to staff on that?
So the first column is students, so we, at Sandpoint High School, there are 7 students, 0 staff, 0 probables, and two of those 7 are currently active.
Okay.
You take LPO, no students, we do have 1 staff. So the first column would be students, the second column would be staff. So,
The third column combined students and staff active?
No. This is something
fourth
we
column.
added that we've had to use one time, and this is probable. The third column is probable. These are people who may be living with people who have tested positive, but either recommended by the healthcare professionals, just self-isolate as if you are positive and have it, but we're not going to test you. So we have run into that. And then what we thought was also very important is that we have active cases, so that we're not just looking at the cumulative we've had since the beginning of school, but what is currently active.
Can you scroll down a little
Yep.
on that list on the staff side there?
Yep.
So 6 other.
Others
That's
would
just-
include our transportation department,
Yeah.
maintenance department, food service department. That's where we aren't directly connecting them to a school.
Right.
So you could arguably say those 2 other active cases right now are not impacting our students at all.
Well, if they're a bus driver, they would.
I mean, not,
Not a class, they're not
They're not-
in the classroom all day.
they're affecting the workflow.
Correct.
Okay.
Scroll
Correct.
down one more.
Yep.
Yeah, 32. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, the 4th column is.
All right.
Oh, yes, yeah, it's all active.
All active.
Right. So that's some other information to look at. I do say another piece of information, just as of yesterday, this is the active cases in our county. It's at 241. I also wanted to share with you that that information that I just showed you on our that all our employees and people watch on that spreadsheet. We are now have this on our website, so all patrons and families can also follow and track what's happening in our district. So we want to make sure that everybody can follow to help make informed decisions on their part as families. So you can see the last time this was updated was 11/17. So as pretty much on a daily basis, if we get a change, we will update this on our website.
I just kind of want to make a point or present this. We're to look at our school district and then the county as a whole. Our school district roughly comprises probably of about 10% of our county's population. We got 4,000. Plus or minus.
Counting employees,
Yes.
yeah.
So there's 241 cases active in the county, but we only have 10 active cases.
Right.
So we then infer that what we are doing is being effective, because we are essentially a big experiment right now, because we're the only place in the county where masks are actually being used consistently, no matter what.
You're very right.
Do we have any probable or confirmed cases of transmission, within our school district, at a school district site or event?
Last
No.
meeting, I told you no. I don't know. We're waiting on a situation in a middle school at this point in time where we had a positive, and I'm waiting to know if there's another student who tested positive. But through contact tracing, I don't know if there were outside exposures to that or if it was in the school. So if, I want to be very transparent. If there is, it may be one, and that is not confirmed at this time. So,
I agree with Lonnie. I'd like to make the point that, whatever the precautions we're taking in our school district seem to be very effective. We don't have any confirmed or probable cases of
Of it
student-to-student
spreading.
transmission.
Within
Our numbers, within our school district are low and consistent, much lower than the county, much lower than the region, much lower than the state.
Yeah.
yeah. And I guess we want to keep it that way.
Yeah.
Right.
So, also, as you know, since we last met, Governor Little has moved us to a modified stage 2. And that modified stage 2, if you read the whole order, education is exempt from that. And Governor Little's recommendation is that we would continue to keep schools open the best that we possibly can. Ultimately, that is your decision. But education is exempt from that modified stage 2 as far as the limiting group sizes of 10. It is very clear in the order of what the recommendations would be there. So, to my point, sorry, I just wanted to
Yeah.
look at that data, let you know where we were, is this is the red plan that you adopted at our last regular board meeting. There are two things that I am going to recommend that you have discussion about. One, and this plan has to continue to give you as much flexibility as possible. So the first thing I would ask is if you were to, and you have a hard copy, I know this is small on the screen, you have a hard copy. But really in our red plan, there are 3 different options. Continuing our schools 5 days a week with just some of the increased flexibility measures on safety measures, scheduling of lunches at the secondary level, a few of those little added things. Or full remote learning will be utilized as a result of a local or stay-at-home order, or full remote learning may be utilized building by building if we were to see an outbreak in a building. What I'm asking for you to consider is to give you more flexibility on the 2 remote learnings. If we would at least have a discussion on amending the language to say full remote or partial remote. That gives flexibility that, and this falls within the State Board of Education and the governor's guideline, that we could still bring certain populations of students if we needed to. We could still maybe bring students to school that didn't have the technology. It just opens up flexibility. I'm not recommending either one of those options today, but I am recommending that if we were to need that flexibility in the language, I would like for it to be in place. So that's the first thing that I would ask you to have a discussion or to consider.
Didn't we already do that for the full remote learning for individual schools in that next statement down there?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. It says, but the one part is it says scheduled by staff on as a needed basis. And I guess maybe I'd like to clarify that a little bit. Which staff? Is it individual teachers? Is it just special education department? The other flexibility, even though we went away from the orange, would say even if we wanted to bring kids in 2 days a week, we could in our red plan if we put partial in there.
Right.
I just think it opens up some flexibility, and I hope we don't need to use it. I mean, it's not my intent. I don't have the crystal ball to know what's going to happen in the future. But I just think as I look at this language and as we have the Teachers Association look at it, we're in agreement that giving you guys as much flexibility as possible is a good thing. So
I'm in agreement. I don't see any reason not to adapt the language that way.
I think it's
I agree
important.
with that.
It's important for special education.
Yeah.
It's important for those students that don't have the ability to get on the internet. It is important to have that flexibility.
I agree. So I'm gonna,
Well,
would you think we should
okay.
make a motion? All right, I'll make a motion to amend the language in the red plan to add full remote or partial remote in place of full remote.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we change the language here to full remote or partial for both these paragraphs that were listed there. Any discussion on the motion? All All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And that motion is adopted.
So the second thing I would like for you to consider today is with the increased COVID spread within our community, and as the data that was presented to you shows, and as I stated before, what's going to keep our kids in school is going to be the health of our adults, and that is important. So what I'm asking is the preemptive, so that when we come back from Thanksgiving break starting November 30th, that we would go to the first red plan, which means that we would still continue school 5 days a week, no changes other than the changes that are written in the plan there. That allows some flexibility to adjust some lunch schedules, adjust some breaks within each school. This means that for some schools, there will be no changes whatsoever. For example, the Homeschool Academy really will not have any changes in their operation. It means that I think what's going on at the alternative school with what they have going would not mean any changes for them. But there are a few individual buildings where these practices would help, and I think given the cases that we're seeing in the community, this would help continuing education 5 days a week, which again is our emphasis of keeping kids in school, which is important, but at the same time putting just a little extra precautions, knowing that you do have another regular board meeting December 8th. That would put this practice in place for over a week. If we see data changing, you have the right at any time to adjust back to our yellow plan. So that would be a recommendation, I would say, is that we could make that preparation. So.
Okay, just a few comments. I'll start off. One of the things he said we were not going to do is keep changing here and there. Every time Panhandle Health comes out with new, we're going to look at how it affects us, our schools. Yes, there has been a big increase, but I'm kind of under to leave it the way it is until it's more significant. We can review this in December, any other time, but I think the less we move in and out, the better off it's going to be for everybody.
I agree. Our plan is working. We put a lot of time and effort into our plan. We've stayed true to our plan. Other school districts of the state have had to switch more than once. We're being consistent. Our plan is being effective. And barring any, and the numbers, verify that. So I support Terry. I think we ought to stick with our plan.
I am, I do see that there has been an increase. Our last meeting was just on the 14th, our last data. I don't know.
We have 10
I'm-
extra cases.
Yeah, we have 10 extra cases since we met.
Yeah. 10 total active cases.
No, yeah, but our increase, right, our increase is by 10, 11 actually, since our last meeting. Some of those in our adult population. I'm on the fence. I wouldn't go to remote learning at all, but I favor this slightly tightened regulations, but still having kids in school. I think it impresses upon our students and families and staff that this is not something to be taken lightly, and that we should actually be a little more diligent while still keeping kids in school. Anyway, that's my.
I think that our approach and our students and staff approach has been great. What we can't control is when people are out of school and what they're doing. And that's when people are getting sick. Our cases are not coming from kids at school getting other kids at school sick.
Yeah,
They're coming
true.
from family members getting sick, and then their kids getting sick. because they're at home.
So
It's
what is
not what's
the-
going on in school.
What have your conversations with staff turned up?
I would feel that putting some of these safety measures in place would be very supportive of our staff. I'll put it that way. I feel that our staff would feel supported in having the ability to adjust a few lunch schedules, and this is mainly a secondary issue, and just to tighten up while we had a community influx of COVID. Some of the, I've had staff email me, please, we need to keep our kids in school.
Yeah.
So, but I also have staff that feel that they need to, we don't know, and I do appreciate your comments on the data that we have, but they feel that it may just be a matter of time, and they would like to take as many safety precautions as possible to delay that. I mean, we've got, counting today, 3 days of school, then we have 9 days, counting 2 weekends off for the Thanksgiving break, and then we come back and we have 3 weeks of instruction before a 2-week Christmas break. Personally, I'm looking at as chunking these times, and during the unknown, I don't know, I really feel that supporting the staff with these increased safety measures, which has very, very little impact on our plan. That's why we adopted this plan 2 weeks. That's, I'm giving you the input I'm getting from staff, that being able to increase the safety measures would make them feel better when we have an increase in the community. Because there's a feeling of, okay, maybe we've done okay, but it's just a matter of time. If it's out in the community more often, it's just a matter of time that it would be coming more into the schools.
So really what we're having a conversation about is the 3 weeks between, starting November 30th to December 18th. Am I correct that those 3 weeks are the 3 weeks kids are back in school?
Correct.
Kids go out for Thanksgiving, they come back
Right.
for 3 weeks, and then we have a quite extended Christmas break.
And
So-
I don't know, and again, I don't want to hypothesize anything, but if the health experts are correct that the surge we're seeing now is due to Halloween, are we going to see a surge within those
Yeah,
first 2 weeks from Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
I can't tell you yes or no, but I'm saying is that I guess you are hedging the bet a little bit of saying let's put some extra safety precautions in place just to be in a preventative measure, which really does not impact students' education. I do want to share, and this is one piece of information. I do not have a report in from all schools, but just since Governor Little has gone to stage 2, and just because our county did go to red, I know there has been at Sandpoint High School, I checked on that yesterday, of about the 700 or 950 students that are registered. Yesterday there was about 225, 40 that are in self-isolation because they are deemed a close contact, and the others are families who are choosing to take the remote
So,
learning.
it's impacting.
So
the number
we
of
are
kids.
starting to
Yeah.
see the impact of parents making that choice, which we want parents to have that choice. And any point in time, parents have that choice to send their kids to school from 0 to 5 days. But I think as we start to see increases in the community, you may see parents choosing that option more.
Right.
So, I just say that was the information. Roughly 225 students that were not presently.
That's,
Yeah.
This is ideal, this is
Not ideal.
not ideal.
Outside of ideal.
Outside of ideal.
Yeah, and 40 of them were self-isolated because they have been deemed, and if you see there are 2 active cases, there have been 7 students at Sandpoint High School with 2 active cases. you know, let me tell you the real specifics of that building. The only change at that building is if you were to adopt red and keep kids in 5 days a week, is they would change their lunch instead of putting their order in at third period and eating it at the beginning of fourth in a classroom with other students with their face covering removed. They would take the order beginning of fourth, pick up their lunch at the end of fourth period, and then they would have the flexibility to take that lunch with them. That's really the only change, and that will be supportive of, I don't know the percent of teachers, but there are teachers that are more nervous about students not in every classroom being able to social distance while they're
And having their mask off and eating together, right?
Right.
Well, I will stand on being in favor of this suggested move to red. I don't know.
Well, let me just say this, I appreciate you trying to be preemptive and be proactive in this, but we're not there yet to require a change. And that's why I get back to. So we have vacations coming up, Thanksgiving, Christmas. I don't see why we don't wait to see the result of that. When kids come back. Maybe we will have to change immediately, but we can do it. I think the perception is going to be, I think in the public, that the county went red, so we needed to go red. We're following them, and we said all along, we're not tied together. Just because they did doesn't mean we have to. That's going to be the perception. So, you know, I still think you ought to just wait and see.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. I think it's important. I don't think the changes going to red are very significant in the schools, like you say, but it would be significant in the community. You know, we have a plan. It's working. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think it's important, you know, for us to stick with our plan.
I'm going to ask one other question of Superintendent. Is it possible that within our yellow plan, which I have the language here, we can adjust that open lunch, which is really a schedule change, not a level yellow to red change?
I mean, at that point, you're just changing to this, aren't you? That's the only thing that's really gonna change.
In that school?
Yeah, but,
I'm seeing the value of that is my point.
right.
I'm seeing that you don't want to raise a community alarm by going yellow, red. But that is a valid consideration to me.
Is it something that can be handled at that school outside of making a plan change? You know, can we leave that decision to the school and say, yeah, if this is what you're concerned about in your specific school is this lunch period, maybe make a change within your school, but let's not, you know,
Not change the whole system.
recreate the wheel. I don't know.
So what you would be saying is then that would be a building administrative level of how their lunch schedule would run?
Right.
Is that what you're
Yeah, like,
saying?
I don't want to, I don't know, personally, I have the feeling that those with boots on the ground are the ones that, they know what's going on, and they know how to make the decision. You know, we're not here to micromanage anybody, we don't know the day-to-day operations of the schools. That's why we have such awesome building administrators and staff that can make those decisions and we support them. I would lean on our staff and administration to say, yeah, look, this is a hot button issue that maybe we need to discuss within our school. But I know that just the topic of discussion of, oh, we're gonna have a special board meeting, you know, like I get a lot of teachers that reach out to me, oh, what's going on? Like just the thought of, oh, is something gonna change? And we don't need to make changes back and forth if we have it, right? There's a certain amount of comfort that comes from that, I believe, and it's like, let's just keep on staying the course.
So would you, as a board, also feel that increased safety measures in a classroom is up to the classroom teacher?
I guess depending on what it is, like,
So how they teaching 6 feet away versus doing small groups because of the increased amount of COVID cases in the community, for that teacher then to feel that they have that right to, And I can tell you, our teachers are so good, they are worried about their test scores. They're worried about the instruction the kids are getting, but they're also have to look after their health. And we have some teachers who have people they live with that have compromised health situations. And so I do have some very nervous teachers who, rightfully so, are worried about their own health and would like to have that flexibility to change how they teach a little bit, or maybe having some increased face coverings with elementary students in the classroom because of what's happening out in the community. When the community has an increase, all of us, I believe, have an increased probability of coming in contact and being in close contact just by the sheer math of it all.
Right.
And so we do have some teachers, and I support those teachers in the sense that they are nervous for their own family and some compromise. And the only thing this red does is allow them to put some increased safety measures within the classroom. So to me, I agree. What we're talking about is what, as the board, are you comfortable with individual staff members going in and putting how they teach, within their comfort level and where they are, and then also administratively allowing lunch schedules to be adjusted just as an administrative decision at the building level versus the board having to make those decisions.
I'm in favor of that.
That's exactly how it should be working as far as I'm concerned. We should not be micromanaging.
I'm wondering if in our yellow plan, the wording already says additional safety measures will be available for each specific building. That we can't allow that to be the go-ahead. It's already in that, if I'm correct, it's under both elementary and secondary, allowing a little level of control for additional safety measures at the building level, and I feel that that is where we are maybe right now.
I would agree, yeah. So to answer your question would be yes. I mean, the guidelines, we put down guidelines. We can't regulate what every single teacher does in every single place.
Right.
And I would never want that.
No.
No.
As an ex-teacher,
But I think as a teacher, they want to be able to implement extra safety measures where needed, with the authority to do so.
And it's already in the yellow plan.
I have a question on that.
Yeah.
So let's say we have a specific elementary school teacher, and he or she wants additional safety in their classroom. So this fourth grade classroom, that teacher says, you have to wear a mask in my classroom all day long. What happens then?
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Well, then you get into a conflict
It's up to the
with
principal of
the
the school.
district's plan.
It's
Yeah.
up to the principal of the school.
So at that point, if then there needs to be a plan for increased breaks. I mean, it has to be a comprehensive plan, and I understand one size doesn't fit all.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I don't want to borrow trouble by assuming that's going to happen, but
Right.
that seems like a conversation, maybe that it's kind of a administrator has to approve changes at his building.
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that the district continue to monitor
That's
the
fine.
COVID protocol and response, continue with our yellow plan and review it on December 8th, noting that our yellow plan allows flexibility on a building by building level.
I don't know that we need a motion because you're recommending we continue as
As we are.
written,
I agree.
with some extra information provided to the school administration through you, but it hasn't changed the wording that's in these documents.
So,
We're here on a Wednesday. If we need to have a special meeting by Monday, that's gonna
coming back
happen.
from Thanksgiving. Yeah.
No, I mean,
You
it's
mean-
a day-by-day thing.
Oh, you mean
I mean, if we
next Monday, the
If we need to meet
23rd?
Monday, the 23rd,
But there's
we need to be I think we need to stay flexible as a board because we don't know what
Right.
the situation is. We're,
For sure.
We-
Well, we know, I mean, these numbers that he's displaying here, you know, are updated every day by
Yeah,
Behavioral Health.
I agree. So we need to be able to meet if,
I think
It
that we're-
warrants.
And this is the one that's probably the most accurate to follow, is the 7-day rolling average.
yeah.
And like I said, can't tell you how excited I get when I see a slight dip and it goes down. I'm waiting for today to see if that trend continues. I would hope, and then I would say, I'd be the first person to say I was wrong. Yes, this was a surge from Halloween. And then, is there going to be a surge again from a week on from students? Because as Governor Little did say, and this is accolades to our teachers, to our administrators, that schools are one of the safest places for kids to be.
I'd like to know for Halloween. Halloween is more of a community event, whereas Thanksgiving is more of a family event. You know, so I see Thanksgiving, you know, as a safer gathering than Halloween.
We'll see.
Yeah, so-
Okay.
Okay, okay, any more discussion? I think we're about ready to adjourn unless there's anything else. No, we don't have to. We'll be here afterwards if you want to talk. Okay, any further business? Okay, we'll stand adjourned, thank you.